All right, folks, it's Friday, August 25th, 2023, and I want to make this quick because I know you're going to be out enjoying your Friday. Hope you go have a fantastic weekend. We're wrapping up summer, but we're seeing that the stocks are climbing, crypto recovering, and we also see gold and silver back up after Powell's speech here today in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So on one side of the world, we have the BRICS summit taking place. On the other side here, we have Jerome Powell, we have Christine Lagarde, the powers that be in the West, the Western financial world, meeting in Wyoming, Jackson Hole, and we have the BRICS summit concluding as well. We're going to get a full breakdown and summary of what just took place, folks. Let's get right on into it. We're going to make this a quick one because I know it's Friday and I know we're here to have a good time here as we wind down the week. Another volatile week in the markets, and we did see that Bitcoin is back down to 26,000 here at the time of this recording. Ethereum at 1647 and XRP at 52.5 cents. Now, XRP actually did move back up today. Love to see it. And up to 53 cents here briefly for XRP. Now we're riding out here at 52.5 cents. We'll be watching this one closely. But like I said, it's interesting looking at the gold and the silver chart. We're going to take a look at both. I was warning that I actually was concerned that we might get a sell-off, a manipulated suppression of gold and silver, that the market maker magicians would push down both assets on the week of the BRICS summit, just because I thought maybe they'd be spiteful and they'd be trying to push this thing down while the whole world basically puts their eyes on BRICS and talking about gold, talking about silver, talking about commodities, talking about kind of resetting the playing field on the global economy. But what we actually got was gold and silver both back up. So this is the daily chart. Each candle that you see right here is 1 day of trading. And you see that gold actually came back down right before the BRICS summit to 1884 before it moved back up here above 1900. So instead of getting a sell-off of the suppressed assets, gold and silver, we actually saw a run-up for both. And this market traded down into the lead-up to the BRICS summit, and then all week here it has been moving back up, kind of down here to finish off the week, but that is because the stocks are rallying after Jerome Powell's speech here today. Now let me show you silver as well. This is interesting. Both gold and silver trading very closely together, and gold, the range, it was back down to 1800 back in March, and it had broke above to 2081 on the top side. Right? But it's been trading right around 1900, holding 1900 very well. For silver here, we've been holding the $22 level very well. Okay. I got the marker here at 25, been another interesting level. And then we topped out at $26 per ounce. That was back in May. Back in March is when we bottomed out for both gold and silver, and that was a 19.9. So about a $20 per ounce of silver before we got that March banking crisis and we get this run up to $26. Now, as I said here with gold as well, both sold off leading up to the BRICS summit, and then for the past week here, it's been all green candles for the most part. Back up to $24 per ounce, and silver is back up on the day. Now, we're going to take a look here at the U.S. markets. We have Jerome Powell speaking here today, Christine Lagarde as well, and we're looking at the markets, how they're reacting. I'm going to show you guys what Bloomberg is showing right now. They are showing here that these stocks are climbing after Fed's no alarms, no surprises markets wrap. So this is Bloomberg's report, and as I said here, markets are back up today, and the markets are delusional. See, they're back up because there's no surprises from Jerome Powell's speech, which I'm about to show you kind of what he said, which was we're going to keep rates higher for longer. Folks are reading this, okay, this is what we expected. He's leaving on the table another 25 basis point interest rate hike. He's leaving that on the table. So this is what we expected. No reason to panic. Market back up. But folks aren't actually understanding, right? They're not actually comprehending what this means for the U.S. economy. This means more bankruptcies. This means more pain for Main Street. If we get another interest rate increase, that means higher mortgage rates. That means we just saw Rite Aid potentially is going to be filing for bankruptcy today. Rite Aid, right? And so major retailers within the United States struggling. They can't even keep their doors open. They're having to shut down many locations across this country. And then Main Street, small to medium enterprise businesses also feeling the squeeze, but the markets are back up because they don't comprehend that, right? No panic, no reason to worry. Jerome Powell's in control, and eventually Daddy Powell is going to ease up on us. Daddy Powell is going to make conditions soften here for us, and we are going to get a soft landing. While the whole world's burning down around us, and while the BRICS groups and the countries that aren't even in the BRICS groups, but they're moving against the dollar, they're dropping the dollar, folks are in complete delusion. They got complete blinders on, right? It's CNBC vision, right? And they're excited because the tech stock's pumping because they might leverage AI. That's our stock market in a nutshell for the last year. Is someone might leverage AI and a stock's going to pump based off that. Just throwing that out there, right? And markets are delusional. Stock investors are delusional, and the smart money is making their move. That's why we see gold and silver rallying basically all week, right? Markets cooling off here for gold and silver today because the stock's getting the attention once again. And this is how these traders are moving, right? The money managers. And we're seeing big positions picked up. I'm going to put out another video on the precious metals, but I wanted to show you guys the charts, but we got another 1 million ounces, nearly 1 million ounces drained from the vaults here today once again. So it's over, about 5 million ounces drained from the vaults this week for the COMEX vaults, but I'll share that in another video. Continuing on here, you can take a look at this one. Powell signals Fed will raise rates if needed and keep them high, right? So he's remaining hawkish to a sense. He's warning that he still may raise rates once again. I'm going to play this. This is a 1-minute clip here from Jerome Powell speaking in Jackson Hole, Wyoming this morning. Let's take a listen.
There are some 2% is and will remain our inflation target. We are committed to achieving and sustaining a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to bring inflation down to that level over time. It is challenging, of course, to know in real time when such a stance has been achieved. There are some challenges that are common to all tightening cycles. For example, real interest rates are now positive and well above mainstream estimates of the neutral policy rate. We see the current stance of policy as restrictive, putting downward pressure on economic activity, hiring, and inflation. But we cannot identify with certainty the neutral rate of interest, and thus there is always uncertainty about the precise level of monetary policy restraint.
Okay, so Jerome Powell saying he can't find the neutral rate to keep that interest rate at, right? The Fed funds rate. Okay, so we're watching this. Christine Lagarde also pulled up here. We got Christine checking in. Hello from Jackson Hole Economic Policy Symposium. I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts and exchanging views with central bankers from around the globe on the very relevant theme of structural shifts in the global economy. You don't say. Structural shifts in the global economy. Really? After BRICS Summit just concludes, right? And so this is Christine Lagarde here. Beautiful setting there in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Let's take a listen in on what she has to say.
Hello to all of you, and I would like to share this magnificent panorama that is behind me. It is the setting of the Jackson Hole conference that takes place every year. It is a little bit like the Sintra of the West, except it's been around for longer. Many central bank governors, many academics, many experts in monetary policy and on the economy in general will be gathering for 2 days, and we will talk about the current situation, the major shifts that we are seeing, the major breaks, and how we can best respond with good policies that will actually help bring inflation back to 2%. This is the goal, this is the mission. We're not done yet. We are working hard, but we also have to compare notes and share our views with others so that we can have really the highest level of confidence that we are taking everything into account. But this is a very inspiring place to do it. Hello to all of
So
you.
there you have
And I
it,
would like to
Christine
share-
checking in for us in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And like she said, and we have to understand here, they have work to do. And you bet you do, right? Because the Western financial world is being checkmated right now by the BRICS nations. And so I'm going to roll in here. JC Collins actually put together a thread to summarize what took place here with the BRICS summit. Along with the new members of BRICS, here are some of the main highlights from the official BRICS declaration from Johannesburg, whether we agree with them or not. So number one, partnership for inclusive multilateralism as enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations. Now you're going to catch a theme here. Comprehensive reform of the UN Security Council to better represent a multilateral world. Reform of the IMF to better represent a multilateral world. Establishment of BRICS Digital Economy Working Group. How about that? Coming BRICS Payment Task Force report. BRICS New Development Bank expansion. BRICS Contingent Reserve arrangement. And support of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Now, I find that interesting, right? So much connections here back to the UN, the support for the 2030 Agenda, right? And implementation of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And also closing the gap in infrastructure development between BRICS members. BRICS continues its attempts to work within the existing global institutional framework while simultaneously developing an alternative multilateral framework that isn't dominated by Western interests. Perhaps at some point sanity will prevail and we will see a consolidation of existing and emerging frameworks. The alternative will be a global war. Now, what's interesting to note is the globalist agendas and connections that they are willing to sign on with, right? Now, what I find respectable is their desire to move away from the U.S. to balance out the abuse of the reserve currency status that we've held. I respect that. But where I laugh and where I think that this is an absolute joke is their promises to fix climate change and the pledges that they make. It's just like the Western countries and powers and group that meet at CAP. And in these countries, you actually see the most amount of fraud when it comes to these donations, these climate change programs, and all this BS, all these initiatives that they're talking about. Meanwhile, they do not care as they go in to find those resources and to pull out and produce those resources in all of these countries. It is an absolute joke, and I will not stand for 1 second sitting here before you guys putting forward my presentation and acting like these folks really give a rat's you-know-what about these little cute things that they talk about. But I do find it interesting to note that although they move away from the Western financial world, they're not moving away from these globalist agendas, right? They are leaning into them, right? But what this does is this only is in our favor because we're investing in these real resources, these commodities that they need to, even try or attempt to push forward these agendas. For me, with the whole climate deal, it's not going to be a problem when we put our minds together and we can solve the real issues. Now, I'm going to leave it at that because it's a touchy subject, but I believe in humanity. I'm bullish on humanity. And when you let true entrepreneurs and capitalists solve problems, they go take care and solve problems like we're talking about right here. And what I want to see for these countries is for them to get brought up onto that level playing field here on the world stage, right? Now, as far as the ethics and the morals, that all swings in the wind. that shifts with the wind, right? That moves with the tides of morals and standards and values of all these countries, right? But what I do respect is the BRICS group getting together, and I find this so funny, this whole conversation, and folks trying to downplay the BRICS group, trying to always be backing up and standing for the US dollar without acknowledging, one, that, yeah, it's not going away. We're going to have a US dollar, but we have to respect what these countries are trying to do in their own best interest. That is what I do respect. What I do find interesting, though, is their support for all of these programs, the UN, all of these groups that have been used to keep them down, right? The IMF. And I think that what the BRICS has been doing and what they're going to continue to do with the right thing to do is to just build a bigger bigger network, bigger building, right? Instead of trying to build the biggest high-rise in town by tearing down your neighbors, by tearing down the competition, you just go build a bigger building, a bigger high-rise, a bigger group, right? A better, an alternative reserve currency settlement system. And that's what they're doing. I think that they, understand what they're doing by trying to still work with the IMF, trying to still work with the UN, trying to still work with these groups, because these groups are putting up a bunch of money. They are coming to do deals. And this is why I'm about to show you Saudi Arabia talking about the Middle East becoming Europe 2.0, right? Becoming as powerful as the Western nations as they move to actually build out real utility, real value within their countries. This is the quote that I'm talking about right here. The kingdom is the largest BRICS trading partner in the Middle East, in total bilateral trade with the countries of the group exceeding 160 billion in 2022. And this is from Saudi Arabia foreign minister. Yes, 160 billion. Today was a transformational day. These are, speeches that we're going to look back years, decades on from now. We're going to look back at these speeches and how powerful this moment truly was. And this one right here from Digital Perspectives. For those who still believe BRICS is a joke, as I've been saying, as I've been noting, right? There's this whole group that wants to make BRICS to just be this one big joke, this big nothing burger, right? Quote, the Middle East will be Europe 2.0. The next 5 years, Saudi Arabia will be completely different. I don't want to die before I see the Middle East at the forefront of the world. And this is what I respect. This is what gets me excited and why I pray for peace and I pray for the opportunity for them as well. And I respect it. He says, I don't want to die before I see the Middle East at the forefront of the world. And these people are willing to die to try to bring up opportunity within their countries. I don't have to name the names. I don't have to name the leaders that have been dethroned and taken out for trying to move against the West. And that's what's at stake here. Your very own lives are at stake when you stand up against these Western financial powers that be. But they're willing to do it. And that is Mohammed bin Salman from Saudi Arabia, the king of Saudi Arabia right now. I don't want to die before I see the Middle East at the forefront of the world. Meanwhile, the West tries to get all cute, tries to get all woke. How's your program working out? Trying to fill back up that strategic petroleum reserves for the Biden administration after they drained all of our oil out of the strategic petroleum reserves, our gas. Now they want to fill it back up at $67-70 per barrel. And just like clockwork, right as we get down to about 72, Saudi Arabia and OPEC, what do? Cut production. They're laughing at us. And they have serious levers to pull right here. It's not a joke. They can seriously move markets that matter. Oil, the most used commodity in the world, right? And it's going to be that way for a long time. And I think that we have to respect what they're putting together right here. Just like Digital Perspective said here. For those who still believe that BRICS is a joke, you got to go listen to what these folks are willing to die for. They don't care. They're willing to die for this cause. And you got to respect it. Now, Digital Asset Investor shared this one. I thought this was a perfect clip to bring back up from Ripple's Dilip Rao. He says, as you watch the BRICS situation unfold, I'm reminded of this Dilip Rao previously at Ripple clip. Retail is the noise. I believe we are living through the turning point now. Absolutely. Let's listen in on this clip here from Dilip Rao, who used to be at Ripple. He no longer is. But let's listen in here at Dilip Rao.
All right. Look, we've got a few questions coming in. I want to get to a few of these. We've got 5 minutes. To Dilip, this question comes from the audience. Many people are using cryptos just to buy and sell and make quick gains out of it. Does it hurt the growth of cryptocurrencies, that usage for a quick buck?
So, I mean, it's kind of chicken and egg. You have to create a marketplace. And right now, we have about 150, 200 exchanges around the world that trade in XRP. A lot of it, as you say, is very shallow trading by individuals, and that is not the use case that we are pursuing. What we are pursuing is the use of XRP as a financial asset by sophisticated institutions as a bridging mechanism. So does this hurt or harm? Well, it creates a lot of noise. And, we certainly don't want that much noise, but we're waiting. And for example, this last quarter, the bulk of XRP sales were to institutional investors. And as this transitions away from retail to institutions, we'll start to use it for wholesale, financial usage. That's when the turning point will come.
You think we're at a turning point now, right? As Christine Lagarde describes the theme of their event in Wyoming as the structural shifts in the global economy, right? So we have the BRICS over here. We got the powers that be in the West over here. Structural change taking place that we haven't seen in 100 plus years. Ripple at the forefront. And as he mentioned, right, they've transitioned. It's not about retail. You tested out the network. You built up some liquidity. You let everybody have some fun. But where's the XRP going now? Not to retail, only to institutions. Where's the gold and the silver going to go if we actually see those suppressed assets start to go? It's going to go to the institutions. It's going to go to the corporations of the world that need it for utility, right? Tesla, SpaceX. You're going to see companies like that are picking up and getting exposure to these assets, and they need it for the production of the electric vehicles and all the batteries and all the systems, and to move forward with this full agenda, right, of bringing up the whole world. And you have to understand, this is great for all of us. The standard of living, as I've been warning, gets checked here in the United States, but overall, right, this brings up the whole world together. It's just that if you're not willing to adapt to this change, you will get left behind. This is why we keep on trying to put out content that cuts through all the noise, the narratives, and the confusion, and brings that clarity to you guys so that we can actually make effective action to follow up. What I'm about to make next, the next video that I'm going to be recording here right now, is going to be on BRICS and the connections to XRP, right? So massive structural change that we haven't seen in 100 plus years taking place. You're seeing gold, you're seeing silver rallied all week. Now with XRP pumped out of nowhere here today as well. And the setup that we're seeing is that the smart money, the institutions, and the BRICS are eating up these assets. And you're seeing, as Dilip Rao commented over the last couple years here, they've only been selling to institutions. And the main focus for Ripple is not retail. See, when folks in the XRP community say it's not meant for us, what we're talking about is what Ripple's trying to do with XRP. Right? What Ripple's doing with XRP, they're not concerned about making the UI interface for that retail customer. The bank's going to do that. The payment provider's going to do that. But what Ripple's working on is getting it into the hands of the institutions so that we can build up liquidities of pools on the back end for wholesale payments. Why BRICS needs XRP is what I'm going to describe in the next video, and I'm also going to explain how there's many banks, institutions, and payment providers within these BRICS nations that are already partnered up with Ripple, already on RippleNet, and many already using ODL XRP. So make sure you guys have subscribed, hit that notification bell so you can catch this next video that I'm about to drop, because it's going to be massive. And on the way out, if you appreciate this content, do me a favor and smash that thumbs up and drop some love in the comments down below for me as well. I appreciate all of you guys so much. Stay tuned for this next video. God bless you all.